All right, good morning, you guys. This is a question that came in on homework 67. This is problem 2D. All right, so first up, my model is a right regular triangular pyramid. The base is an equilateral triangle. So if I'm looking at it in 3D, here is my model for what we have right here in the picture. So what I can see if I tilt it to the side is I have these two right triangles. The one that we're going to need in this problem will be my height here that is in red. In yellow is my apothem. And in black is my slant height. So I need the height for volume and I need the slant height for surface area. Okay, so again, if I look at my figure, if I think of it as a net, this is what it looks like as a net. Here's that triangular base. And then here would be those triangular lateral faces like so. I'm not drawing them perfectly, but it does get the job done. So that's my net with this as my base. Okay, so we should figure out our base shape first, figure out its area. So here, let me just write out base and draw a big equilateral triangle. Okay, so each side is 8. So then I'm going to draw in my apothem right here, and then my radius like so. I know that this angle starts off as 60, so if I split it in half, now I have 30 degrees here and 60 degrees right here. So if this entire side is 8, then right here, half of a side is 4. 4 is opposite the 60-degree angle. So this is my longer leg. So if I have my longer leg and I want the short leg, I'm taking a third of this value and multiplying by the square root of 3. So 4 root 3 over 3 would be my apothem. So now if I want the area of my base, which I usually get first, my area would be 1/2 the apothem times its perimeter. Okay, so 1/2. My apothem is 4 root 3 divided by 3. And then my perimeter, well, I have 3 sides, they're all 8, so times 24. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to picture that 24 over 1 so I can see my numerator and denominators clearly. So I can reduce first also just to make my life easier. So if I see this 2 and 3 would be a 6 in the bottom. 2 times 3 would be 6. 24 divided by 6 would be 4. So I'm just simplifying right away to minimize what I have to multiply out in the end. So now on top, I have 4 times 4, which is 16, and then square root 3 units squared. All right, so I have my base area. My base area is 16 root 3 units squared. I'm going to need my slant height. So again, if I look at my model, my relationship is, here is my height, here is my apothem, and here is my slant height. So let me draw that out to the side. So right here, I have my apothem, my height, I have my slant height. So here, if I label what I know right now, my apothem is 4 root 3 over 3. Okay, my height is 15, and I'm going to need to figure out my slant height. So I'm going to have to use Pythagorean theorem. So I have 4 root 3 over 3 squared plus 15 squared equals the slant height squared. So now resolving this, if I have 4 root 3 over 3 as a quantity squared, everything inside is going to get squared. So that exponent of 2 applies to the 4, to that square root of 3, and that 3 right here. So 4 squared is 16. The square root of 3 squared is just 3. And on the bottom, 3 squared is 9. So right now, that's what it looks like, but I can simplify this further too. This 3 and this 9 can go 1 and 3. So I can reduce that down to 16/3. So I have 16/3 plus 15 squared, which would be 225, is equal to the slant height squared. So what's sneaky about this one then is that in order to combine these, I need a common denominator. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put this over 1, and I'm going to multiply by 3 over 3, just like that. So that's going to create the common denominator. So my slant height squared will be 16 thirds plus 3 times 225 will be 675 thirds. Okay, and then I can resolve that even further. If I add 16 and 675, I get 691 over 3. Okay, so then my slant height, right, I can take the square root of each side. And I know that when I have a fraction underneath a radical, I can split that up into the square root of 691 over the square root of 3, like that. And then I have to rationalize the denominator, so root 3 over root 3. And then that's going to get me square root of 2073 divided by 3. And I'd love to say that that's going to simplify, but it is not going to simplify, so I'm going to leave it as is. So let me just double check. I might check to see if there's a few things I could do to reduce it down. 2073, I can try dividing it by 3, and I get back to 691, but then I'm still not going to be able to break that down. So I am stuck as is. I know algebraically I have the plus or minus, right? Plus or minus square root of 2073 over 3, but we know that this is a measurement, so only interested in the positive. So slant height is the square root of 2073 divided by 3. Okay, so now we have everything that we need. That process is probably the hardest process because we just had a lot of ugly fractions in there. All right, so now let me slide this up just a little bit. So now I want surface area. So surface area is 1/2 the slant height times the perimeter, right? What that does is that gets us these 3 lateral faces. So again, if I draw in right here, the height of one of those individual triangles is the slant height, and then all of their bases collectively are the perimeter. And then I have to add that to one base area. And then volume, we know that for any three-dimensional figure that has that pointy tip, the apex, it's 1/3 of what it would look like as its prism. So if this was a prism with the same base shape, same height, right, the pyramid would be 1/3 of what the prism would look like. So 1/3 base area times the height. So here 1/2 the slant height, which again, sorry, did not resolve nicely. So square root of 2073 over 3. And then the perimeter of the base is 24. And then one base area is 16 root 3. So here if I multiply across, again, I could do the same thing that I did before, where I said, okay, well this 2 and 3 would make a 6. And 6 goes into 24 4 times. So I can simplify a little bit before I push forward. So now I have 4 times the square root of 2073 plus 16 root 3 units squared. Okay, volume 1/3. The base area is 16 root 3. The height is 15. This is a much easier one to do. I can take 1/3 of the 15, that's 5, and then 5 times 16 gets me 80. So 80 root 3 units are cubed. All right, I hope that makes sense. I also just want to point out that there's another right triangle that if we were back in school learning this, I would emphasize this one too. You can see that if I have a radius right here, the radius with the height and a lateral edge right there, I have another right triangle. Let me see if I can tilt it so you can see a little bit better. I have another right triangle relationship. But the one that we typically build off of is this one right here, where I have the height, the apothem, and the slant height. All right, that's all I got. Have a good rest of your day.